Hi, so in today's video, I'll be talking to you about looking for, looking for a sponsor, looking for a place where I could go and I could talk about my book, basically. So, yeah, I will tell you more about the Jewish embassy, and I will tell you more about JCC Krakow, so Jewish Center in Krakow. And I'll start with a little bit of a story. Oh my god, so sorry. It's just that I'm using YouTube Live for the very first time, so I just can't find the place, and it's I'm totally surprised that Vimeo there was a problem, technical problem. So sorry. Let me just start with a little bit of a story. So I wanted to tell you more about the name Titus. So a man who married into my family had a son named Titus, and for me it's a very, very unusual name. And I have learned that that name is a name of the Roman emperor who destroyed the second Jewish temple. So having that in mind, then it makes that name even more unusual. So that's one thing. The other thing is that I was called klezmer. When I was a teenager, I was called by my brother-in-law klezmer, and that's also the reference to Jewish history because Jewish musicians are called klezmers, and I didn't know about it. So yeah, I believe that too wasn't a random name. And my aunt had a dog named Azrael. I'm sorry, my aunt had a dog named Neron. In primary school, I had a friend whose name was Octavia, and yet again in Roman Emperor there was Octavian, and he had a sister Octavia. And my brother had a spider named Azrael, which for me sounds like Israel. So in the article about Mickey, I tell you more about Azrael. Okay, so I wanted to contact Jewish embassy, and there were some references in their videos too, like they talked about Jewish women being hurt double, and in my book I wrote about Jewish people that they were kept in pig barns after the Second World War, and that way their freedom was limited in a double way, because on the one hand you're in chains, so there is this physical limitation, and on the other hand you also are limited by the surroundings. So by what your thoughts are occupied with all of a sudden because of the context you found yourself in, right? And I also wrote about spitting because when I worked in a fast food restaurant, I was asked to go and clean flowers in the garden. And when I was doing so, somebody spat very close to me and they kept on staring at me. So in those movies from Embassy, they talked about spitting too. So, there were some references, and therefore I just decided to step away from the idea of contacting them, although I started to send the messaging, and I was very dramatic, like could you please could please someone pick me up even from Tarnów. So yeah, that type of announcement. And then when I was going to when I was planning to take part in Jewish festival, then obviously I had to collect the money for the ticket. So the sister whose children I taught English all of a sudden paid me much later, and all of a sudden when I called my best to help her with children, this time maybe for some money, and I also asked her to pay me for proofreading I did for her, which was very, very cheap, it was only 40 zloty. And as I said that, just asked for that, she told me I didn't give her the money back that I borrowed from her, which I did. So I just paid her once again because she told me there was an amount that was missing, and I went to my elder sister for money too. And when I went there, she wasn't home. And here's the story of my 4 encounters with police officers. So I went from I went from the garden, and I wanted to enter the garden, but the door was closed. So I was considering, even climbing the fence. Luckily, I didn't do that. But, the way I looked, I was wearing a hoodie, sunglasses, and I was wearing, yeah, umbrella too, probably, yeah. And, there was a man behind me, and he stood with the phone, and it looked as if he was recording me, and he asked me a question like what I was doing, but I didn't want to talk to him. And when I went from the front door to sit and wait on the stairs, he kept on standing there with that phone and with yet another woman. So I got angry, and I said like something very stupid, like go and dance in ritual magic, you gypsy. And he told me, he got back at me with threats about the police, right? So shall I call the police? And then a day later or 2 days later, I finally went to JCC Krakow. And over there, I was waiting with an umbrella. Why was I waiting with an umbrella? Because, I enrolled to get on a lecture, and I was told I wasn't on the list. And when I wanted to show on my phone that I was enrolled, I wanted to show my email. It turned out that the phone that I paid very high amount for, the phone subscription. It turned out that it didn't. There was no internet. So basically, whenever I needed the internet, there was no internet. So I wanted to wait and to see for the right person, to wait for the boss. And I just was there with this umbrella, and the caretaker just kind of didn't like me. Like he was, coming back at me to say that I was sitting too close to the entry door. And and the last time, when I was actually, after a few hours of waiting, going home, I told him too loud that, that he's looking at me instead of, this is how he's caring for his jobs. I said something like that, and then I turned around and I started to walk away. And in that very moment, three police officers ran towards me, 3 or 2. But with the caretaker, when we stood in that circle, that was a lot of people, and I didn't know what have I done. And the moment when I said that, and the moment when I turned back to go away, so what wrong did I say actually here? And they asked me for my ID. I couldn't find it. When I couldn't find it, I was asked if shall I help you find it? Wow. And of course, I had to take off my glasses, my umbrella off, and so on. And I talked about my imagined sun allergy. I mean, obviously, I lied. I don't have a sun allergy. But, my mother was supposedly allergic to sun in the past. So I think it was done in order to see the references to my lies about sun allergy. And yeah. And then I was coming back home, and on the central station the same day, 2 policemen approached me and asked me for my ID. And I asked them, what have I done? Why? And they told me, oh, you resemble somebody that they were looking for. And then when I went 1 year later, when I went to London, yet again, I was with my umbrella. I was waiting in front of the Buckingham Palace. I wanted to speak to the king about the witches and about my book. And and I had the motion too. And I was waiting in front of this Buckingham Palace, and I was approached by two policemen, and they asked me about my passport. They kept asking me questions like where I was staying for the night, because it looked for them I had no place to stay. They asked me if they should take me somewhere, and so on and so on. And I didn't want to participate in those questionnaire and inspection. And I got scared, because even if I was planning to club all night and not having a place to stay in a hostel, then what? So, I got scared. I moved away from them, and I didn't get my passport back. I didn't ask for the passport. They didn't tell me, stop, we have your passport. They just told me the Buckingham Palace, the square in front of it, will be closed. And there were so many people over there. And they told me that it was because of my umbrella, because my umbrella was threatening to others. Yeah. So this was how I was left without the passport, which magically then was found in my bag. But, I got scared that I had no papers, and I was preparing to get back home. So these were my 4 encounters with police officers, so to say, because these people, they act out those scenes, and obviously it's always a stressful situation when we have to talk to the policeman. Right. Okay. So that was one of the meetings, and I have to tell you, the caretaker was not Jewish, that's for sure. And let me see. Okay, so the very first day when I went to a trip from Jewish festival, I went with Joanna Nosowska-Babik, and she is a guide over there, and she, when I was walking with her to the second lecture, I talked to her about Jacek Kucaba, and I don't think it was accidental. I think she's similar to him, and I think she's similar to my friend from middle school, Dominika, too. And as we reached, JCC building, a Jewish Community Center in Krakow building, yet again, I had to open my bag and show everything that was in there. And there I saw a woman who was very similar to my student's mom. Very masculine, bigger head, very tall woman, and broader shoulder than hips. Yeah. And as we entered the, oh my, as we entered the lecture, a lot of questions were popping up in my mind. And actually, Ms. Joanna Nosowska-Babik wasn't looking at the lecturer, she was looking at me. Like, yeah, she was looking to the side, but at me. So I believe she was channeling me, and the questions that were popping up, showing up, were if somebody stuck scissors in your legs, then what would you do? Or if you were really, really tired, then what would you do? Or who told me about the king? Because I was planning to go to London to see the king, but I saw the police officers instead. So here I had a lot of references to Cala Pink, to the book The Princess of the Diary of a Princess, a book with a pink cover from my childhood. My teacher who taught me Polish, Ms. Kotecka, and she used to wear pink, and my homework assignment where I wrote about wearing pink. And pinking as the beverage, a cocktail that is sold in a place where I worked, and I was giving away flyers there where I liked my boss. And in McDonald's, I used to work in lobby and clean the lobby, and I would clean it from pink strawberry shakes. So there were a lot of references to pink, but and a lot of associations came to mind. But it was an ongoing process of questioning, and questioning regarding the embassy, like what would I do next with it, and how many men I slept with, which are questions designed to introduce shame, because I believed everybody could access my Akashic records and everybody could see my experience. And how do I know if a person is good or bad? So questions regarding my judgment, my way of thinking. How do I know if a given source is reliable? How do I know if a given book I read is reliable? And why don't I feel guilty because of my father's death? And of course, there were more questions than that. So with Miss Joanna Nosowska-Babik, talked to me about the book by Beata Chomutowska, The City of the Children of the World. She told me that this woman was writing the book for 10 years. And I was planning to go to Bartosz Hexel lecture. He is the manager of the Schindler's Factory in Krakow, and he wrote a book about Jewish lawyers. So I wanted to see that one. And because I talked to that lady, I went to the lecture about the book with the children of the city of the world. And over there, I saw the author, and she looked pretty much as my neighbor from my old tenant house, Sylvia, with golden hair, with bigger, dark eyes. Very beautiful girl, but a gypsy girl. And during the same lecture, one of the people the woman who was the host, actually she was just standing and kind of like supporting the event, but she was just standing and looking. So that woman was pretty much similar to Jan Gomoa. So what else did I want to tell you? Basically, during that event, I just came across a lot of the times the gypsy people. I would say more often the gypsy than the Jewish. So that was surprising for me. Yeah. I think that's more or less what I wanted to tell you today. So if you're curious about the further events from the book, if you want to get free PDF of Piglet, then drop me a line at lkinga788@gmail.com. And if you want to check out my course, Amelia, if you want to learn more about manipulation, mind games, and control, then check out the link to my course. You will find it in the description of this film. You will find it on my website and on Instagram and Facebook accounts. So if you like this video, hit the like button and share it with other people. And thanks for watching.